Yeah, Jonas from Kamstrup in Stilling, formerly Sisico. I'm a department manager with the data services department where we have this product eButler. As Mike briefly mentioned, eButler has been used, even though anticipated not to function optimally, it has been used as to present data as an energy management system for the households in Stenderup. And I would like to talk to you a little bit about why a functioning, very successful energy management communication platform does not work with these types of users. And then I would like to present to you the plan for changing the platform within this iPower scenario. As a remark, the whole concept of eButler in Live Lab and the whole concept of Live Lab precedes this iPower arrangement. So a lot of things I'm talking about precedes actually Live Lab being a part of iPower, but what I'm talking about in the future will of course be everything together. So first of all, I would like to talk about the difference between regular consumers and prosumers, because that's actually the key to the reason why a lot of these frustrations that we anticipated would happen was happening with the users. Then I would like to talk a little about our plan for the future, what's going to happen in Word Package 6 and in Live Lab until next presentation, next event in May here. Then I have some demonstrations. But first of all, when it comes to consumers of energy, you might think that consumers are just consumers no matter how the energy is supplied to them. As Mike mentioned, you can separate consumers or users into different personas. You can use different theories to do that. But there's also another major difference between regular energy consumers and prosumers or users in an aggregator network, as it is, like the ones in Stenderup. Let me go through a few of them, and I'm sure you will agree that some of these differences might have an effect on people's understanding of energy. First of all, in a regular consumer's household, there is one measurement point per energy type, and this measurement point measures the energy that's purchased and the energy that's consumed. In a prosumer's household and in a consumer and an aggregated network maybe perhaps as well, there are several measurement points measuring different things. None of these actually measuring the energy consumed, the total energy consumed, but it's measuring the purchase, the sell, the production, and even you have secondary meters measuring the car charges and the solar panels and stuff like that. So understanding energy consumption in this context becomes suddenly very more complex and actually requires the users to have a certain understanding of the technical setup, which is not a requirement for a regular consumer. In a regular consumer's household, there's a one-to-one correlation between what's on the bill, what's on the meter, and what's in the energy management systems. I can describe this frustration where the prosumers in Stenderup would look at one meter displaying one thing and the energy management system displaying another thing, and of course the bill would display a third thing. And that's actually quite a big challenge in communicating this, because you have different displays displaying different things all around you. Another difference is the concept of the knowledge baseline, if you might, of these people. Regular consumers have this concept of themselves consuming something that is usually described as limited or valuable. So focus is on reducing this consumption. A prosumer who's acting correctly is not necessarily reducing his consumption, he's changing his consumption patterns so it matches, for example, the production. And Mike mentioned a lot of the inhabitants in Stenderup actually focusing at this point, they're wanting to move their consumption to another time. So that's a way more complex thing to communicate how to do that than just simply reducing your consumption and motivating people to do that. Finally, there might be, most regular consumers would have similar personal goals, even though they represent different personas. There is a simple correlation between saving energy, saving money, and saving resources for the environment. And that's, of course, not the same thing for prosumers here. So now that I've described some major differences between regular consumers and prosumers or consumers in an aggregated network, you might ask yourself, why in the hell did we give these people in Stenderup a screwdriver to drive in nails? Because that's actually what we've been doing. And well, it all comes to this plan. And the first step of the plan, which, as I said, preceded this involvement in iPower, was to give the users a regular energy management platform. We did anticipate that it would not communicate properly all of these differences, but we gave it to them so that we could investigate how they reacted to being communicated about energy in the traditional sense, using traditional methods, traditional terminology, and how they would respond to this. And then at this point, we would, and that's where we are right now. In a few days, we'll be totally resetting this communication platform, eBottler, the energy management system. So we remove all analytical or value-laden statements and tools in it to be simple data presentation. The goal here is to reset the user's understanding of the whole thing. And in the coming months, we will conceptualize new features which are based on the user's own understanding of their own household affairs and energy production and energy consumption. We will hopefully implement a few of them and then evaluate, and in half a year we can, or at the event in May, we hopefully can present some of the results of this action here in iPower. So let me talk a little about what's happening in a few days to the interface in Stenderup. What do we mean by resetting the communicational approach? Well, one simple thing is this is how a household would look in Stenderup a few days ago. I'm not going into details with it, but the main thing is that we are reorganizing everything. This is how actually an energy management system with focus on consumption as the main communicational approach would categorize things. And this is how we want to categorize it instead, with focus on prosumption, production, and consumption. One major thing is that the total energy consumption is actually a sum of these three measurement points, and we display that, visualize that in the way that we aggregate the measurement points. Also, let me go through a few examples of what we mean when we talk about value-ladder statements. One of them would be something like this. We all know this, or at least in Denmark, we are familiar with this electricity rating from the government, and that's one thing where we put value to the amount of energy which is used. So that's gone. We don't want to put any value in that it's good or bad to spend a lot or a little energy. Also, we have like this in eBottler, we have a lot of, you might call it high-level analytical tools. This is an example where we can calculate the tendency of the heat consumption compared to last year, same period last year, taking the climate into consideration and stuff like that. That goes as well. And another major issue has been unifying the units used to communicate this. At Kamstrup, we like to say that we are not communicating this in any unit. we can communicate in the pattern of the consumption. But here's an example where we don't. We are actually calculating the expenses. Well, expenses is a monetary unit, and up here we have another unit which is kilowatt hours. So all calculations into financial matters is removed as well. So if we take all these changes together, we have a very, very simple interface. You might say it's clinically removed of everything that can help people change their habits, but that's actually the point in the first time. The first point is to make people simply aware of their consumption pattern and nothing else. So that's the platform where we want to reach them and know about how relationship with their energy consumption after this point. A few other examples, when we go down to the system, drill down to the system, we've removed something as simple as the tool where you can see the average consumption. That actually created a bit of fuss with the users, so that was removed. But we did keep a few of the analytical tools. Like this, we have a tool where we can calculate the standby consumption. This was thought of as a tool that could actually help the users get acquainted with some of their habits, so this was kept as well, just an example. So finally, of course, we are opening access to the mobile app platform. As Martin said, a lot of the users were, as you would anticipate, very angry with only being able to use the PC. So we're giving them access to the mobile version as well now. So they should be happy about that. Another major thing when we're talking about this aggregated users in an aggregator network is actually the aggregator's role as someone that creates flexibility or uses the flexibility within the users' households to turn on and off the energy. In this setup, let me just briefly say, we have what we, from the user's point of view, call comfort settings. Comfort settings is actually flexibility settings, but the user describes them as comfort settings. That's, for example, being able to accepting a fluctuation in your home temperature of a certain number of degrees, or accepting that your car is not fully charged at all time. So that's the comfort settings that we expose in the platform, and that's actually the settings that creates the margin for in Zero software to turn on and off the equipment. So that's how it works. Let me demonstrate. I'll just go over here. So. And we're not using Internet Explorer here, I was told, so I'll have to use. Okay, this is the same picture as I showed you before. You'll have to take the mouse pointer here as my finger or the laser cursor, because I'm facing the screen now. So this is actually how the car charger would look if it would load. Right, this is actually how a car charger would look if you visualize it given the comfort settings. So we have three different ways of describing comfort. This 24/7 minimum charge is actually how much do you need to get to the hospital. So the lower this would be, the better the more of a margin for the aggregator. And the higher this would be, the less of a potential in saving for the consumer. But given, let's say you set this to 50%, then the charger would always make sure that the car was charged to 50% immediately when it was plugged in. And then we have, excuse me, I'll just log in English. It'll make a little more sense for a couple of you, I think. So. The signal is going all the way to Stenderup and back. Should we call anyone, Thomas? heat pump is better. Okay, I'll begin with the heat pump then. The heat pump is actually a little easier to talk about because it's we all have a sense of this comfort margin in the house where we accept fluctuations in the energy, in the temperature. Sorry. Here we have allowed for people to set their, of course, their preferred temperature. That's the goal. And they actually have the possibility to allow the temperature to fluctuate differently above or below the goal. That's, of course, would be used by the aggregators to heat up the house, let's say when the energy is cheap and we have a storm coming or something like that. So this is how they will, in the future, decide like that. Their margins, and let's see if the car charger will load. Yeah, so besides this 24/7 minimum charge, we also have weekday charge levels and weekend charge levels, and they are based on homes where they don't have nightly jobs, because or at least that their hours at work are the same throughout the week. Because the point being that you decide at which time in the morning or at which time in the afternoon that you want a certain charge. So if you know that you only need 80% to get to work and back, and you leave at 6:30 in the morning, this would be your setting. And then you might want to say that in the weekend I want full charge, but I don't need it before 9 o'clock in the morning. So that's basically the settings, and from this, you can make all the the regulations they need. Here, at this point. So that was the final word.
Thank you, Jonas, for good presentation. That's very interesting. So now the idea, may I ask Morten and Maiken and Thomas to present the floor? Because now the idea is that you can ask questions for the last 3 presentations regarding user behavior. Yes, we'll have the mic, and then we'll have this mic over here. Start.